Hello, everyone. We should be live with our quick hits. I'm here with Slappy Jones, of course,
Hey,
and some of Slappy's kids.
yeah, they're here. But they're going to be quiet, right, boys? Yeah. See, that was a quiet yes.
Oh, good, good. Well, we'll see if Grum cooperates, which I'm sure he won't. so, we wanted to do this. We've been doing these. This is our second little quick hits thing. We just decided that why not just jump on YouTube and have a conversation about stuff that pops up. Little things pop up here and there, and you just want to flesh these ideas out. Might not be worth doing a full podcast episode or anything. And also, it's easier to do than actually write an article. So
Yeah.
maybe it's born from laziness, but I think it'd be fun, and we can have interactions with people because since we're doing it live, and if you go to YouTube, which I'm sure these people are, if you're watching this live, you can kind of ask questions too. So we can have some fun doing this. So the reason for this one was I made a tweet the other day that I thought was pretty clever about Bitcoin and gold. And then
He's very proud of himself.
Yeah, I was. So it was so good that I screenshotted it.
Send it to everyone he knows.
Yeah.
Put it on Facebook.
And I put it on the Liberty Mugs Instagram account. And I'm so used to doing most things with McFlugel and Liberty Mugs on Twitter that I just assume that everyone knows that that Slappy and I run Liberty Mugs. So one of the comments on the Instagram thing was Raul McFlugel is clueless. And then I started seeing other people comment because I put it at other places, and I realized that they were not getting what I was trying to say and kind of thought we're getting the opposite. And so let me read it. So here it is. Saying we need to go back to the gold standard is the same as saying that we need to go back to the Constitution. Gold was the best money at the time and served its purpose, but its flaws have led to the current monetary problems. So it's time to make way for Bitcoin. And so I think I think we got to lay a lot of groundwork for this because I think it's very easy to make certain assumptions about what I mean about things. But it's something that since I've been learning about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has really forced me to learn about money and the economics behind it a lot more than I did before. It's kind of opened up a lot of different ideas and realizations. So let's go into it. So Slappy, what was your what would your reaction be to this? Because we haven't really talked too much in depth about this.
Yeah, no, what I was thinking is I don't know why you want to go back to the Constitution.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, we talk about Bitcoin. You're certainly farther along than I am in learning about Bitcoin and money, but I've read a lot of the same things as you, and I generally agree. Sorry about that. I don't know where you want to go with it because gold was the best money at the time.
Right.
I think that kind of led. I think you would agree. Maybe that's what you're saying here. Its flaws have led to the current monetary problems. Is that if you're a gold bug and you love gold, well, we now have central banks everywhere. Hang on one second.
Yeah. So while you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with, let me just lay it out. When I'm criticizing gold and saying that gold's a failure, I don't mean that it's always been a failure. I think maybe another example or comparison analogy would be talking about VCRs. So Slappy, if I were to say like VCRs and VHS tapes, what do you think about them?
I think we should go back to them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if someone says right now, looks at a VHS tape and says, "Oh, this is kind of wow. Can't believe we used to use this."
Yeah.
Well, at the time, that was the best technology.
That was great, actually.
Yeah.
You remember like being able to record stuff on, I don't know. I mean, we used to record stuff on TV all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's like, now you can watch the show again. This is awesome. Or if you set up 2 VCRs and record one tape to your blank tape, even if that FBI warning tells you not to. It was really it was really cool. You could go rent a video from, Blockbuster, whatever,
Sure.
and copy it.
Right. And
and that was awesome.
Yeah. But there were obvious issues with it.
Right.
One of them being that if you use the tape too much, that it would wear out. Another one you mentioned with the two VCRs. Do you know how they used to prevent copying of tapes?
No, I mean, I know we used to take off the thing on the side of the tape to be able to.
That's what the security measure was for
Yeah.
that. But it was the best they could do at the time. So, but it was
They tried.
Yeah, it was a great technology, but there were ways that there were
And it improved.
Right, there were certain flaws, and then I mean, I'm jumping to the next to something else. I know there was Laserdisc was a thing, but
yeah,
we jumped to
DVD is pretty cool. You could jump to
Right.
certain parts really quickly. You didn't have to wind a tape.
You didn't lose. You had higher quality of your video. It didn't deteriorate like a VHS tape would. It had many improvements. But then that gave way to something else. Now we do now there's DVR, and then there's streaming services on top of that have become extraordinarily cheap. So it's constantly improving, and this happened very rapidly over the course of 20, maybe 30. When did VHS tapes come out or become very popular? In the early 80s, I guess. So
yeah,
we're coming up to, let's just say, 40 years. Over the last 40 years, we've and even before that, there was reel-to-reel stuff, 9mm. But we can see, since it happened so quickly, we can see this evolution of this technology improving, and it doesn't come with it just makes it easier to grasp this idea. So I think that gold should be treated in a similar way, in that gold served its purpose for a very long time. And when I say that gold is a failure right now, I don't mean to take away anything that it did, because at its time, I mean, you just look at the results. When societies and economies were on the gold standard, they saw like unbelievable, or any hard money standard, they went on unbelievable economic booms. I mean, the Industrial Revolution in the United States in the mid to late 19th century was a result of being on the gold standard. I mean, having hard money, having money that you can own and save properly, allowed people to really make good economic calculation. But today, I mean, we're not even on a gold standard anymore. Gold's not money.
And couldn't people argue, though, that we are way better off today than we were 200 years ago?
As far as
Federal Reserve being better than gold?
Well, it's you have I don't think we would have gotten to where we are as quickly as we did without that period where we were on gold. So yeah, you can't just like take away that thing. But because of like the VHS tape, because of certain flaws in it, it introduced opportunities for other technologies to come and take its place. And so gold has certain flaws that allow the state to kind of whittle its way in and get involved and basically ruin it. There were other forms of money before gold. The ray stones are a good example. Or a better example might be in Africa, they use beads as money. And it worked out great until Europeans came over, and the Europeans were able to make identical beads basically a lot cheaper. So they came in and flooded the market. Were able to trade their beads for other things that the Africans had, and just ruined the economy down there while the Europeans made out like bandits over it. So that was a flaw in the money of using the beads, and we see that over time and time again. Gold, it's difficult to settle with gold because it's big, relatively big and bulky, and expensive to transport. So that creates a kind of a centralization. You want to just store it in one place, and then only only a certain number of banks have it, and then they just kind of do it on. keep track of what they're doing on paper, and then they finally settle it. But when you have that centralization, it makes it a lot easier for the government to come with guns and say, oh, by the way, this is ours. So much, as libertarians or conservatives too, they love to criticize socialists for saying that, like, never being all the socialists say, well, that wasn't real socialism. That wasn't real socialism. Whenever you point to socialism being a failure, you don't want to make the same mistake with gold, because I don't think there's gold used as money anywhere now.
Not that I know of, but
so it ran its course, but because of certain flaws inherent to gold, that created an opportunity for bad actors, the state, to kind of intervene and cause all these problems. So Bitcoin
is an improvement that would protect us from the state or any other central body.
Yeah, and gold offered improvements from the previous monies. And that's why it created such boons for everyone, is that it takes a while for states and bad actors to react. So Bitcoin's kind of the next stage of that, is that you have a harder, sounder money. It's more difficult for a government to take control of Bitcoin or to seize Bitcoin. It certainly makes it more difficult for them to spend money, because when they have control of all the gold and they have their fiat money and just running their printing presses, they can create a lot of money for themselves. I mean, famously, that's how World War I was able to be fought, because they started doing.
We've been in a war nonstop since then, pretty much.
Right. So if people start using Bitcoin as money, they would still, they could still tax you directly. I guess they can still point guns to your head if you don't send them Bitcoin or something. But they can't inflate the money supply like they did anymore.
Right. I mean, look at U.S. history. I mean, how many? We're in the middle of the longest war now.
Right.
World War I, II weren't this long. They were less than a decade. But when the government has the ability to print money, they have the ability to wage endless war. And instead of raising the money, as they would have to do with gold or with Bitcoin.
Right. So that makes it a lot easier, a lot more difficult to get what they want.
Right.
Because now
they have to actually get the money.
They'd say, "Oh, we want to fight this stupid war in blah blah blah, and we're going to have to increase your taxes by 10%."
You think people
are going to want that to fly?
Now, if there was like an impending attack on the United States soil, maybe they would.
Sure. But at the same time, because of this, because people are going to be more resistant to government taking their money, and also just the fact that they can save more and do economic calculation a lot better, there's going to be a lot more innovation in the marketplace that's just going to displace what the government's doing anyway. So you're going to have, if there is a problem that pops up, it's less likely that the government's going to be the only kind of viable solution to your problem, and there's going to be presumably a lot of private solutions so it's kind of this nice feedback loop right now, because we're in a monetary system that is utterly controlled by the government. We're getting negative feedback loops, but as soon as you can kind of break through and get something harder that they can't stop, they can't control, they can't booger up, then I think you start getting positive feedback loops. It's like, do you ever think about how over the history of the world that life has gotten better for everyone across the entire world? If you like, as history moves on, life gets better. I think that's fairly uncontroversial.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But you look at it now, but you look at that and you say, like, but yeah, but look at like all of the, our quality of living has gone up, say, in the last 50 years. But look at like the horrible things that the government has done in the last 50 years, all the killing that's been going on. And I think that's because we're on the tail end of this of poor monetary policy. And I think that's kind of when it starts sliding down, is because of lack of sound hard money. And I think Bitcoin's going to be the thing that gives it the jolt in the other direction for who knows how long, because I'm not saying that Bitcoin's going to be money forever. But what I am saying is that no one really knows how to successfully attack it. And there's been obviously successful attacks against gold because we're not using it as money anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the big thing with gold is we did use gold.
Right.
It was there. It's hard to divide. I get you, like you were saying, you could centralize it and then chop it up in pieces of paper, and that way saying like here's 1/100th of 1 ounce of gold or whatever. If you really want to get down to it.
Yeah, and
but like you said, like you brought up earlier, settling at the end of the day with the different banks is hard, and the gold is centralized, so someone like the government could come in and take it.
Right, and that's why I said it's like the Constitution, because we, as libertarians, as anarchists, we like to, pull up the Lysander Spooner quote and say either the Constitution was designed this way or it was utterly defenseless in preventing what we have now. Either way, it's unfit. Now, either way, it's unfit to exist. I think gold was certainly fit to exist.
And you could say the Constitution too, but
you could even say the Constitution was great when it was invented, and it was the best thing that they could come up with at the time. That's fine. I'm fine with
that argument. Yeah,
but it had flaws that was able to be attacked.
Right.
And so when people say that, we should go back to the gold standard, that's why it reminds me of the Constitution, because those attack vectors still exist for gold.
Correct.
And so why would we believe that it's going to end up any way than how it is now?
Right. It's not going to be better. The same exact thing would happen.
Right, because it's the praxeology doesn't change.
Right. Plus,
economics don't change.
Yeah.
Incentive structures for people don't change.
It would be very easily to do those fractional reserve banking with gold. Without being open with it, it would be I mean, I don't want to say it's impossible with Bitcoin, but it's really hard.
Yeah, because it's very easy to you don't have the same centralizing effects with Bitcoin,
right.
Especially with Lightning, because now you can do micro transactions instantly around the world. And go back and listen to McFlugel or
most recent episode.
Yeah, episode 131 with Guy Swan from the Crypto Economy podcast, and we talk a lot about the Lightning Network and kind of what it's bringing to the table and how amazing it is. So we have the ability now that you can hold Bitcoin without needing a bank, and now we can split it up and make it easy to transact. That you don't need to have kind of this like a banknote or anyone mint on your behalf for you.
So what about all the jobs in banking? All those people you don't care about?
Yeah. Huh. Creative destruction is what that is.
Yeah.
So, man, I was thinking about this on the drive home and all day at work, and I had 18,000 other points I wanted to make, but I forget most of them. But you kind of have to
Did you get some? Yeah, I have all kinds of problems over here, which I'm sure you can hear some of them.
Amazingly, Grum has not made an appearance. I think he's pretty happy in his little cat bed right now.
Yeah, I apologize for earlier. I had people climbing on me, had to mute my mic at one point, and now we got some crying upstairs, so I'm not sure if that's going through the mic or not. But this is why we record after 8 o'clock typically. What was some of the criticisms you got? You put, you sent this to everyone, you put it on all your social media platforms. What were people coming back at you with?
One was that it was that Bitcoin was the sign of the beast.
Well,
which
was obviously.
Yeah. That's what we're all rooting for, right?
Yeah.
Just that I don't know. I think it was just kind of everything that we covered, just that gold is and the idea that gold has intrinsic value, which I think I think you got to be careful when you bring up the word intrinsic and really make sure that you understand what it's meaning. I think a better thing to say instead of saying gold has intrinsic value is to say it has commodity value. But even in that case, I mean, that helps it become something become money. If it's got something that's always going to be, it's always, you can be pretty sure that
If you
it's
have
going
it,
to
you
have
get rid of
use.
it.
It's going to have industrial use. There's always, the value is very likely not to go to zero. But at the same time, why, if Bitcoin or anything is just really, really, really good as money, why do you need it to be good at something else? Which I think, and I don't think I finished this one point, but I'm not saying that Bitcoin's going to be money for the rest of, and it's not money right now. Let's also get that straight. It's only been around for 10 years. We've had gold for thousands of years. People didn't dig gold out of the ground and look at it and say, I don't know what this is, but we're going to start using it as money. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Bitcoin. It's going to take some time. I don't think it's going to take nearly the amount of time since we're all connected. And that's the other thing too. And there's 80 million things to say about this. One of them being that when gold was taken as money, we weren't all globally connected. The internet has changed things a lot. So you could kind of have different societies using different things as money and it not really affecting, or using the same thing as money, but one not affecting the other because they weren't connected with commerce. I mean, there's so much history and information to dive into that. And just kind of making a general point. I don't think I finished the one point I was trying to make, and I forget it now. Oh, I'm not saying that Bitcoin's going to forever be money. I'm just saying that it is by far the best technology we have for money right now. So let's go with it.
Yeah.
And if something else comes along eventually that's going to replace it, and I'm not convinced at all that Bitcoin, that bad actors will never find ways to attack Bitcoin. But right now it looks pretty rock solid, and it's way better than anything we have right now. So I'm pretty bullish on riding this wave.
Bullish, yep.
So, do you have anything else?
No, that's good. I got to run.
Okay. I don't know. I want to talk about 10hoursofbitcoin.com. We mentioned it in the last quick hits, and mentioned it in our previous podcast. But if you're interested in learning about Bitcoin, which I really think you should, I really think you should kind of get a background in economics and money and other things, is J.W. Weatherman was a guest on our show on episode 90, and he created this website called 10hoursofbitcoin.com, where it's exactly what it is. 10 hours broken up into a couple sections where you go through different modules to learn what you need to do to go from zero to fairly competent to understand everything you need to know about Bitcoin, and should be a pretty good jumping off point. And also our guest on the last episode, Guy Swan from Crypto Economy Podcast. If you go down to 10hoursofbitcoin.com, there's a little donate button. And we want to give him a little thank you for recording a lot of the content that we have on 10 Hours of Bitcoin. So you can donate some Bitcoin to that.
Either check out mathbot.com.
Yeah. So either on chain or Slappy, you can jump if you've got to go. Just jump off.
All right. Catch you later.
I didn't want. Now I can say everything I want.
Yeah. Get it all out while it's live. All right. Peace.
See us. So go down and donate, and we are raising money to pay Guy back for all the work that he did in making audio versions of some of the content, so you can have multiple ways of getting this information. And you can make payments on Bitcoin on chain, or even being via the Lightning Network. And if you really want to donate and don't want to send Bitcoin, then get in touch with me, and we can make arrangements to send dollars or something. So I think that's really an interesting and fun thing. So that's really all I had. Let me see if people are in the chat have any questions. Just getting criticism that we're 3 minutes late. So, all right. I think that should be it. So thanks for listening, everyone. Hopefully we'll be doing more of this. Maybe not half hour is kind of long for this. We're getting into podcast territory, but we will we'll try to do this at least once a week, I think. So thanks for listening, everyone. Go to mcflugel.com. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Hopefully you didn't leave yet. If you donate money to the 10hoursofbitcoin.com thing, you will get a discount for libertymugs.com. So more incentives to do good things. So with that, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.